probably ethics, like just having, a person with good like morals and just doing always the right thing and, setting a good example for others.
I think it makes someone ethical in making the right choice, even when one's own well-being may be at stake, doing the right thing even when Big Brother is watching. Moreover, you should promoting ethical behavior and setting that example for others. Another important thing is to build a career around a company that you can respect, especially its leaders. Create a positive relationship with your colleagues. Furthermore, I would recommend every ethical and responsible accountant to set an ethical tone and moral compass from the start of your career and do not deviate from it.
What would you do if you saw someone stealing candy from a grocery store?
I think at first I would go to the person and I would ask him or her, are you sure what you're doing now, because it's not legal? And I would try to convince him of not doing it and doing these things away and change her or his mind. But if the person is ignorant, I would say, okay, it's none of my business, and I would go away and I would do nothing then. I would not call someone who's working.
I think there's a question that can be answered from a very objective point of view. So ethical reasoning, moral development and self-examinations are the most important skills. In the class we learned about two tools that can be very helpful. It's the Kohlberg's and REST model. They help to assess yourself and to identify your personal morals and ethics in a specific situation. Furthermore, I think courage is a very important tool. It often requires a lot of courage to take actions, and this might also be a possible barrier for many people to act the way they should and often also wants.
So in your field, where do you perceive ethics as an important factor or a factor at all?
Yes, respecting other people's work, and if you ever do experiments with humans, to do it ethically.
How do you incorporate that into the work you do so that you're cognizant of risks as you develop products?
Well, as you go, I guess you just test them and make sure they don't fail, and if there is an issue, you don't just assume it'll be fine when it goes out in the field. You actually test it.
Well, one of our case studies in accounting was the space shuttle explosion.
Yeah.
And they were saying that the engineers were all, no, don't fly, don't do it.
Okay.
And the business people said, we got to do it.
Yeah.
So what would you do to try to prevent a situation like that if management said, no, we're going to do it anyway, and you knew it was highly risky?
I'd tell them not to do it for sure. I mean, you only have, I guess, so much ability to stop them, but I would definitely do my best and everything I could to tell them to stop. If I knew there was an actual, serious danger, serious threat to everything.
Would you go as far as resigning? Would you drive a car into a building? I mean, what would you do to save people's lives if you knew it would make a difference?
There's people on the rocket ship, right?
There's good,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd fully resign.
Yeah,
I'd
challenge
fully
it.
tell everyone. Yeah, there's people. I mean, there's lives at risk. It's not just like a publicity deal. There's people
Right.
in danger here.
As a private practitioner, the greatest source of my income is from tax return preparation and tax planning. As you know, no one wants to pay taxes, and I'm often asked to do something to reduce a client's tax burden. I often hear, come on, be creative. Obviously, I won't do business under those terms, but if you have an in-depth knowledge of the tax code, there are many legal and ethical ways to reduce a client's taxes. This is especially true for businesses. The typical approach to reduce business taxes is defer income or accelerate expenses. Constructive receipt rules, however, prevent holding checks, and many prepaid expenses need to be accrued. A better approach is to increase expenses in constructive areas such as employee benefits. Finally, year-end tax planning prevents surprises and helps the client understand the tax burden early. It's also easier for the client to pay their taxes throughout the year than to get hit with a large year-end tax bill. The tax code ultimately is written to encourage certain activities. An in-depth knowledge of the code will allow you to help clients reduce their taxes legally and ethically.
As a professional, how do you walk the walk?
Well, working for the investment firm I was lucky because my firm had very strong values, so I never was faced with an ethical dilemma where I had to weigh whether my bosses tell me one thing or my ethical code was saying another. But I think it's important for every person in the investment industry to have their own ethical code, make sure they're doing their research and believing in every recommendation they give, and never give a recommendation based off of some other incentive that isn't based on their own values.
Ethics will always play a part in everyone's lives, even for those who do not find themselves in the accounting or auditing field. The Harvard cheating scandal, New York City subway death, and Sunbeam cases, for example, all vary wildly in setting, but also share a common thought process. Whenever we are faced with a decision that has some moral basis, whether at work, at home, or elsewhere, we rely on our own moral development as well as the ethical decision-making model that we have formed through past experiences, accumulated knowledge, and our own mental aptitude. Wherever we choose to go, Kohlberg's and Rest's legacies will follow.
Have you ever been in an ethical dilemma before?
One time I stole a bike, it was like a couple weeks ago, and I thought it'd be fine because it hasn't been touched in a long time, but everybody was saying that I stole it, so I kind of felt bad, but I don't anymore because I like the bike.
In many situations, we may not even realize we are acting unethically. It's so easy to get caught up in the pressures placed by management or society. As auditors, we need to be able to identify situations and have a growing awareness of situations that may require our ethical judgment. We simply cannot just ignore red flags, but another important aspect of it is recognizing how we, as individuals, play a role in why ethics in accounting matters. It matters because we matter. We have a duty to the public, but we also have a duty to honor ourselves in an authentic way. As individuals, we need to bring our inner confidence and trust our opinions enough to speak up for ourselves. One way to overcome uneasy situations is to take Professor Doran's advice and take a moment to breathe and reflect. Recognize that we have the ability to choose and honor our integrity, and that the way we act this out guides us in our quest to live intentional lives. By giving weight to your word and actions, you gain self-respect. And by passing ownership on decisions, you are telling your inner self that you do not matter. We have the power to make an impression in the world, but all decisions start with you.